Hey there, welcome to Sumit Academy. I do hope that you are benefiting from my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you do not miss out on my previous or future videos. This is the third edition of the series on current affairs news you can use. In this video, we shall cover a recent ruling that parotas are not rotis and will attract 18% GST. Second, a Supreme Court ruling that reservation is not a fundamental right. And finally, Google Map adds COVID-19 travel alerts as cities reopen. Our first news is that in a recent GST ruling, the Karnataka bench of the Authority for Advance Ruling, that is the AAR, distinguished between a roti and a parota, holding that parotas would be subject to a higher GST of 18%. And remember, we are not talking of a paratha, we are talking of a parota. As per the ruling, roti is generic and all Indian breads cannot be categorized under it, arguing that parotas need to be heated before consumption, hence the tax. The story began when the company ID Fresh Food approached the AAR to seek a ruling on the goods and services tax rate applicable to whole wheat parathas and Malabar parotas. And no, the word here is again parotas, not parathas. The AAR held that the parotas would be liable to GST at 18% as the 5% rate was applicable to rotis or chapatis, but not parotas. Yes, both of them are flat Indian breads, but evidently not for tax purposes. Classification of a product to fit into specific categories devised by tax laws, GST or VAT or any indirect tax is always a difficult issue. Over 2 decades ago, Nestle India Limited and the Excise Department were in court over the issue of the correct rate of excise duty applicable to the famous Kit Kat chocolate. Or is it a Kit Kat wafer? Well, the rate of excise duty applicable to chocolates was 20% and the excise duty for wafers and biscuits was 10%. Nestle claimed that Kit Kat, and pay attention here, Nestle claimed that Kit Kat was a wafer with a chocolate coating, while the excise department claimed that Kit Kat was a chocolate with a wafer inside it. And guess who won? Nestle did. So it became the Kit Kat wafer. But think about it. Why such controversies? Now the answers lie in how tax laws are framed and why they are framed that way. Remember, taxation is linked to commercial activities, the sale, production, income, profit, etc. Laws can seek to cover goods, services, or business that exist or can be anticipated to exist. But entrepreneurs are creators, businesses are ever changing, and new products and services are created and brought to the market every single day. Tax laws cannot think ahead of them or cover every variation in advance. When the excise law was framed, it probably didn't envisage that a chocolate would be sold as a wafer. So what did they do? After losing the case to Nestle, they quickly learned and notified a new rate for chocolate covered wafers. And what happened? Kit Kat came into the higher tax bracket. So till the taxman catches up, businesses are well within their right to use classifications to their advantage. That is, if the law is unclear and two views are possible, the taxpayer is entitled to follow the view beneficial to the taxpayer. And then it falls to the tribunals and courts to make sense of it all. Another case. The Karnataka AAR interpreted the product category 905, khakra, plain chapati or roti, as one that covered ready-to-eat food items, while the ID fresh food parotas required heating before eating and hence were determined as falling in a different category. Now remember, India's GST has 7 rates that cover over 1,350 tariff items, and that's just goods. Yet, almost ready to eat parota didn't make it to the list, and that's why the identity crisis. Well, our second news item is about a recent Supreme Court ruling that reservation is not a fundamental right. A bench headed by Justice L. Nageshwar Rao was categorical that nobody can claim right to reservation as a fundamental right, and hence not giving the quota benefits cannot be construed as a violation of any constitutional right. The petitions were filed by the Communist Party of India, the DMK, and some of its leaders, asking for 50% OBC reservation in seats surrendered by Tamil Nadu in the All India quota for undergraduate, postgraduate medical and dental courses in 2020-21. The top court has ruled that there is no fundamental right to reservation in appointments and promotions in public services under Article 16(4) and 16(4)(a) of the Constitution. It added that it was the discretion of the governments, either at the state or the center, to grant reservation in promotions. Meanwhile, calls for reform and rethinking the reservation policies get louder. One question is whether there is a need to continue with reservation and if benefits have reached the targeted society. Debates on extending reservation to the private sector and the exclusion of the creamy layer of SC/STs are also being widely discussed. Our third and final news item is about Google Maps adding COVID-19 travel alert as cities across the world reopen. In an effort to create an interface that helps users cope with the new restrictions imposed due to COVID-19, Google has announced new features for its Maps app. The tech giant is adding relevant alerts that include warnings if a certain mode of public transport is shut or precautionary reminders to wear a face mask, as well as options to check out how crowded a transit is. In a blog post, the Maps product director Ramesh Nagarajan shared the additions, which will be rolled out to several countries across, including India, US, UK, France, Thailand, Spain, and more. The availability of features will depend on coordination with local authorities and government mandates. And lastly, when you enter a medical facility or COVID-19 testing center as your destination, Google Maps will remind you to do a bit of quick research to make sure you won't be turned away once you get there. And what is the example of this alert? The alert will say an appointment may be required for COVID-19 testing here. So, this alert will come out for medical facilities in Indonesia, Israel, the Philippines, South Korea, and the United States. Back in March, Google Maps began encouraging users to call their doctors if they were experiencing the coronavirus symptoms before going to hospitals and other testing sites. Now, this came during the surge of COVID-19 cases worldwide when some health facilities were getting overwhelmed. Well, that's all from me in this third edition of Current Affairs News You Can Use. Do keep a lookout for further editions of this series. I acknowledge with gratitude the news reports in various media and other publications on the subjects. I hope you like this video and do share on your Facebook page. And do subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on my previous or future videos. Till later then, cheerio.